Business exists only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
The Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by gross them, our governors have to share police administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. We cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola. Who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked.
We're leaving the evidence in our matter.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord.
Legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
It's a beautiful new day, a exciting and engaging episode of Political Spectrum, coming to you live from Uyo, the state's capital. I remain yours sincerely, Onumense Ehinoma Olusegun. As usual, we'll be focusing on the recent developments, 57 days of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in office as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, amid delay in the appointment of his cabinet, whose impact is being felt across the country. Moving straight into the business of the day, we start with the issue of government's conditional cash transfer. For those of you who have been following the issues keenly, the last is not yet heard from them. We understand clearly that NEC, that's the National Economic Council, rejects social register. Now, the National Economic Council, NEC, has unanimously resolved to do away with the National Social Register used by the former President Muhammadu Buhari administration to implement its conditional cash transfer. This is as the federal government has announced that it will distribute 252,000 metric tons of grains to states at a subsidized rate to cushion the effect of hardship occasioned by the petroleum subsidy removal. Now, the NEC meeting presided over by Vice President Kashim Shettima at the Council Chamber Presidential Villa said that the register had Anambra State Governor Chukwuma Soludo said, contrary to what the previous administration projected, it is not possible to digitally transfer money to the poorest of the poor, the major that only the vulnerable are listed. Soludo, flanked by his Bauchi and Ogun State counterparts, Bala Ahmed and Dakwa Abiodun, respectively, noted that beneficiaries of the supposedly transferred cash could not be identified in the villages. He said NEC resolved that the states should come up with their own register using formal and informal means to develop them. We need to face the problem of the fact that we don't have a credible register, he said. Soludo affirmed that NEC deliberately on ways to cushion the impact of the recent petroleum subsidy removal. While fielding questions from the journalists, Soludo said the first question that was raised is in relation to the cost of governance. I think it's an omnibus concept, he said, and it's not something you sit down in a meeting to legislate for each and every state. But the fact that the council recognizes that this is an issue that each tier of government should now focus on as an area of concern. We need to be sensitive to the times. We need to live within the average of the people that we are governing, and so on and so forth, and knock off the waste and irrelevance, so to speak. In relation to the social register, he said, I think at the council today, there was almost unanimity among members that there's a big question mark about the integrity of the so-called National Social Register. We have questions about how those names in the register were brought, and then distributing things through the social register by digital means, implying that these people already have account numbers and they have phone numbers. Maybe we are talking about some other people and not Nigerians. Now, the poorest 25% of Nigerians are likely, if not totally, unbanked and don't have access to telephone. Now, in thinking through that, we felt that sitting in Abuja and calling on somebody in Anambra to compile a list and send to you, and then the person, depends on who he brings, is stress testing. And we think that we need to go back to the drawing board. If you are delivering any such national or federal program from Abuja, it needs to be delivered via the governments that are there using their own format and mechanisms to generate the register that is comprehensive. Now, Soludo Fola explained that packages to serve as palliatives were marshaled out to encourage the tiers of government to implement in accordance with their respective fiscal space and fiscal capacities. Now, for example, according to him, if you have a state that has been owing salaries, arrears, workers have been owed for 3 years or for 4 years, the priority now is to even start paying some of the salary arrears, or where pensioners have been owed their pensions and gratuity for 7 years, for example, the priority now might be to use part of the surplus to pay them. Bauchi State Governor Bala Ahmed said that the federal government will distribute 252,000 metric tons of grains to states at a subsidized rate to cushion the effect of subsidy removal. Now, Mohammed said that the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, will also make its package available to the people. On the spot, Governor Dakpo Abiodun of Ogun State said that though the hardship the masses are facing as a result of the removal of fuel subsidy was not the doing of the government as the market forces determine the price, efforts were being made to cushion its effect. Some of the packages include cash transfer to the poorest of the poor by the states, cash award policy for all public servants, which should be implemented for 6 months in the first instance, payment to public servants on outstanding liabilities such as pensions, allowance, among others. He also said that the government is looking at the possibility of funding micro, small, and medium-scale enterprise MSMEs, which he said are the engine room of business. Now, he said the government plans immediate implementation of energy transition plans, converting mass transit buses to compressed natural gas, CNG, adding that the long-term vision was to establish electric automobile plants. Now, let's quickly move to happenings at the sub-national level. Now, from the states, we start from Osun State. Now, Adeleke others. Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke yesterday inaugurated the State Executive Council with a warning that any commissioner or public official that indulges in corrupt practices will be sanctioned. Now, the governor, while reeling out the names and portfolios of the new commissioners and permanent secretaries during their swearing-in at the government secretariat in Oshogbo, said he would be doubling as commissioner for works, while his deputy, Kola Adewusi, will be overseeing the Ministry of Sports and Special Needs. He said the new commissioners are products of stakeholders' choices, adding that they are qualified and appointed based on merit. Adeleke said, and I quote, "I seek a very responsive government that listens and satisfies the wishes of the people. So, your goal must be real service to the people." Heavily sanctioned. As we all know, I am a team player. There won't be any room for solo actors in our cabinet. You must work as a team with a common goal to make a difference in the lives of our people. Above all, my leadership is about due process and rule of law. You must not cut corners. I will not compromise transparency and accountability. To harness our potentials and capabilities, an executive retreat is in the making for all top appointees and officials. At that event, an expanded 5-point agenda of the administration will be a focus. We will leave the retreat better equipped to deliver on our mission and vision as a government. Also, in due course, you will be adequately briefed on the public service rules as well as your working relationship with bureaucrats who are accounting officers of the ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs. Now, on their part, the new commissioners also promised to key into the 5-point agenda for the Adeleke-led administration, saying that they will be loyal and avoid shady deals. Still at the sub-national level, but before then, we'll take a short break. We'll be right back. Please don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back and many thanks for staying tuned. If you're just tuned in, this is Political Spectrum coming to you live from Uyo Spectrum Television. And we are taking some of the reports of events and happenings at the national and sub-national level. We just took the one from Osun State talking about Governor Ademola Adeleke, arranging the list and giving specific instructions to the commissioners that will be serving in his administration. Away from Osun State, we go straight into Delta, where you have Governor Oboriwori appointing 26 commissioners and sends lists to the state assembly. And he also pledges to prioritize health for Deltans. Now, 51 days after taking office, Delta State Governor Sheriff Oboriwori has unveiled a list of his cabinet members made up of 26 commissioners. Now, Oboriwori, in a letter to the speakers and members of the state assembly in Asaba, said the list has been sent to the House for consideration and confirmation to enable him effect the appointments in line with the powers conferred on him by Section 192 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. Now, the commissioners designate comprise of a majorly new entrants. However, some former commissioners in Ifeanyi Okowa's administration also made the list, including Anyagu and Tilije, who were in charge of information and finance. Now, respectively, also appointed into the cabinet are Orode, daughter of former governor of the state, Dr. Emmanuel Uduaghan, and Fuenyi, son of the former senator. All right, we'll go on a short break. We'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying tuned. We had a bit of a technical issue there, but it has been resolved, so we can get on with it. So still at the subnational level, we just concluded that of Osun. We'll be taking that of Delta again. Oboriwori appoints 26 commissioners and sends the list to the State Assembly, and he pledges to prioritize health for Deltans. Now, 51 days after taking office, Delta State Governor Sheriff Oboriwori has unveiled a list of his cabinet members made up of 26 commissioners. Now, Oboriwori, in a letter to the Speaker and members of the State Assembly in Asaba, said the list has been sent to the House for consideration and confirmation to enable him effect their appointments, in line with the powers confirmed on him by the Section 192, Sub 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. Now, the commissioners designate comprise majorly new entrants. However, some former commissioners in Ifeanyi Okowa's administration also made the list, including Charles Anyagu and Telije, who were in charge of Information and Finance ministries respectively. Also appointed into the cabinet are Orode, daughter of former governor of the state, Dr. Emmanuel Uduaga, and Funei, son of former senator representing Delta South, James Manager. Meanwhile, the governor said his administration will pay priority attention to the health and well-being of Deltans, in line with his MORE agenda. Oboriwori noted that his administration is willing to partner with well-meaning bodies for growth and development of the state. Speaking when the National Executive Council of Nigerian Optometric Association, NOA, led by its national president, Dr. Obinna Awiaka, paid him a courtesy visit at the government house in Asaba. The governor assured the optometric body of the state government support for its conference holding in Asaba. Now he says, and I quote, "We are ready at all times to partner with any sector that wants to collaborate with us in the MORE agenda." Now his MORE agenda is M-O-R-E. We are not going to toy with the issues of health. Also in my cabinet, we will have a medical doctor, almost all his predecessors commissioners, and gives reasons why. The governor of Akwa Ibom State, Pastor Umoeno, has sent a list of nominees appointment at 23 commissioners and a special advisor to the State House of Assembly. Now, a letter duly dated 19th of July 2023, addressed to the Speaker of the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly, Udeme Otong, was read on the floor of the House during the Thursday plenary, July. Now, the letter showed that about 99% of the commissioners and the special advisors of the last administration of Governor Udom Emmanuel made the list of the current administration. The letter reads in part, in line with the Section 192, Sub 2 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, I forward the underlisted names of nominees for appointment to the office of commissioners and special advisors for confirmation by the State House of Assembly. The Speaker referred the commissioners and special advisor nominees to the House Committee on Judiciary, Justice, Human Rights and Public Petitions for further legislative action. Pastor Umoeno has said the decision was made as a temporary measure to reward those who supported and fought alongside with him during the challenging electoral period. The Akwa Ibom governor stated that he believes choosing the people to work with him remains his own personal prerogative. Now, away from that and into the issues bordering around national security, Nigerian Army launches new operations to end killings in Plateau. Now, the Nigerian Army has launched a new military operation in Plateau State, codenamed Operation Harokin Damisa, which means leopard's teeth in English. Now, launching that operation in the Mangu local government area, the Chief of Army Staff, Major General Taurid Lagbaja, on Saturday said the aim was specifically to end the spate of attacks and killings in the local government area and other parts of the state. Now, in July alone, over 200 people have been killed in sustained violent attacks in the Mangu local government area of Plateau State. After addressing troops deployed to carry out Operation Harokin Damisa, the Chief of Army Staff moved to a pilot primary school in the community to have a meeting with some stakeholders. Early in July, the House of Representatives asked the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, to declare a national emergency situation in Plateau over incessant attacks by terrorists. This followed a motion of urgent public importance on the need for urgent intervention in the killings in some local government areas in the state. The House further requested that Operation Safe Haven should identify and evacuate all the cells used by bandits in the state. The House mandated the Committee on Emergency and Disaster Preparedness, Defense, Army, Air Force, Police, and Legislative Compliance, when created, to oversee compliance and report monthly until the situation was brought under control. Now, they stated that the recent attacks on the communities had resulted in the killings of over 300 individuals, significant injuries to others, the destruction of property, and the displacement of nearly 18,000 people. The House further requested that the security personnel should give aerial observation and assistance in capturing the terrorists and destroying their camps in order to prevent attacks and allow innocent farmers to return to their land and ancestral homes. And to our last reports, 4 governors plus former Governor Wike attend Appeal Court President's Son Memorial Service. Now, no fewer than 4 governors yesterday attended the memorial service organized by the President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Monica Dongban Mensem, for her son, Parker Shepnam Dongan, who passed on last year. Now, some of the governors who attended the event held at the Demshin in Plateau State still have cases at the Elections Petitions Court, where the Appeal Court President will have a major role to play. However, there was no evidence that the Appeal Court President invited the governors to the event. According to the analysts, the governors might have attended the event in a typical Nigerian gesture and perhaps to curry favor. Speaking at the service held at St. Peter's Clever Church, Demshin in Plateau State, the governor of Oyo State, Governor Seyi Makinde, who said he was speaking on behalf of the Nigerian Governors Forum, NGF, sympathized with Justice Dongan, saying that the governor identified with the family at the memorial service. Now, he said, though the loss was painful, the governors recognized the impact made to humanity by the late Parker Shepnam Dongan within the short period of his sojourn on earth. Adding to his goodwill will be greatly missed. Also speaking, the governor of Plateau State, Mr. Caleb Mutfwang, who sympathized with the bereaved family, prayed to God the demise of the Parker. Even though 1 year has passed and we know you have enjoyed the comfort of the Lord, may you continue to enjoy the comfort of the Lord all the way. We will continue to pray that God will teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts on counterpart Dakpo Abiodun, former governor of Plateau State, Senator Jonah Jang, and former governor of Rivers, Mr. Nyesom Wike. In his message, the Bishop of Shendam Catholic Diocese, Most Reverend Philip Dongan, Presiding Bishop Dong, drew attention of governments at various levels to the lack of social amenities such as drinking water, roads, schools, hospitals in most communities, and called for urgent steps to be taken to give the people a sense of hope and belonging. He applauded the President of the Court of Appeal for our investments in education, which he said has enabled the less privileged children to have access to schooling as part of the event. A multipurpose hall built at the Ungotugut in memory of Parker was commissioned by the Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, Dr. Bashir Jamo, alongside Muftwang and other dignitaries. All right, those are the reports. The stories will be following for today's edition. We will introduce our guest to join us. It's going to be a physical guest, not a virtual guest. But we'll go on a short break, a very short break. Thereafter, we'll be right back. Join us again.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by cross level. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
All right, welcome back, and many thanks for staying tuned. I have with me already citizen Matthew Kofi O'Connor, also known as Citizen MKO. Good morning to you. How are you doing?
I'm good.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
So Citizen MKO is the founder and president, Open Forum Care for Humanity, a very dogged civil society man. Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Let me ask you, how was your weekend?
I don't really have weekends, and the way the country is, a lot of persons have also lost what can be said to be weekends because...
Are you serious?
Yeah. People are grieving.
The truth is, I didn't even expect this kind of response when I asked how was your weekend. Yes, of course, we know people are grieving.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, let's go into the business of the day. You know, there's been a lot of buzz about this social register. You know. And then the current administration is saying through all sorts of means, I'm sure the Kaduna governor made his own speech. There was this lady that was responsible for administering it in the past administration. I think she's also relevant now. And the National Economic Council has agreed that at this point, we'll just have to, you know, make do with arranging a completely new one. Some people, as at 2019, probably would have passed away. Some probably would have got gainful employment and all that. But give us an overview.
For taking a pro-people decision.
Okay.
It's a rare move, and whenever government does something right, we need to commend.
Okay.
Where there's something wrong, as informed citizens, and particularly for us who are pro-people, we need to speak out. We need to speak for the voiceless.
Okay.
One of the ministries created by the immediate past administration under Muhammad Buhari was the Ministry of Humanitarian Disaster Management. Very creative. It was to address what we used to have as a market money stuff, where the then Vice President, Professor Sivajo, would leave the villa, go into markets, and be handing over 5,000 or so to people directly.
Yeah.
And Camara will be going with him the following day will be in another market, and it looked like a comedy. It didn't look like anything serious. It didn't look as if we have thinkers at that level of governance. So when Mr. President thought it wise that it should be a ministry, I felt very happy. And a lady was appointed, and unfortunately, from the turn of things, it happened that that was one of the worst case scenarios if we are to rate the success of the last administration. That ministry had budget, and they had funding.
Yes,
and
massive
funding from what we've been able to gather from here and there. They must have run a budget of over 2 trillion.
About that.
Yeah, within the lifespan of that ministry. And I have seen the minister appear before the National Assembly, at least a committee, and I think the main assembly, I think on 2 or so occasions. And she was wanting in answering questions. And one of the questions that was asked then was that, who are the beneficiaries of these monies that have been given to the poorest of the poor? Where is the register? She said that the people are poor and they are ashamed to be identified as being poor, so they don't want their names. There was no register as at that early time. So at whatever point they felt they had a register, I think that register should also even be probed, because even her statement, in one of those interviews that she made, she said that every family has received money from a family in the country, not just in a particular state or region, have received money. And I wonder, I live in a community, and I'm a community person. I've never heard anybody in my community where I live say that, oh, they are beneficiaries of the social intervention scheme of the federal government. And that call to question who received those monies. And I've been a very strong advocate that if you want to intervene to reduce poverty, not eliminate, maybe difficult to eliminate poverty, to reduce poverty, you need to build institution.
True.
You cannot have a ministry and then you don't have
mechanisms
for accountability.
Everything seems to be shrouded in some kind of opaque.
Not just opaque, it borders on maybe magicians, we call apprentice magicians, people that have not even graduated from tutelage, coming out to perform very complex magic, talk less of simple ones. So it's unbelievable that you can have a ministry run on a budget, then there's no institution where the poorest of the poor, small scale people can walk into, you have their data, and they get whatever is, call it stipend, or get soft loans. At the end of the day, you'll be able to have their photographs, be able to have their data, be able to encourage them. Those that don't have bank account, they need to have a bank account, because you cannot operate without also
have their permanent residence address.
Exactly. So and there's a model to it. We had a military president who was more than a military president. The man was in touch with reality. Give it to him any day. Ibrahim Babangida, general. He created what was then known as the People's Bank of Nigeria.
The People's Bank.
And you found the People's Bank of Nigeria all over the Federation. Very simplified. Nothing complex about it. But the important thing is that you can walk into that place, then your data is gotten, and you get whatsoever is your entitlement, even if it's a dash. So the rejection of what that ministry called Nigeria Social Register is quite commendable, but it should go beyond that to probe into that register and how much went in and how much was actually, disbursed.
Exactly.
And it's also a challenge on the present administration. If you jettison the register, the new thinking, which I go with them, is that this thing should be done through states. We are a federation, for God's sake. Even the federal government has a program, they need to partner with states, which are the federating unit. There's nothing wrong with that. And mind you, most states don't care anything about alleviating poverty. They didn't even talk about it. There are no programs to that effect.
True.
So we still commend the federal government. But now that the governors themselves says they want to be the ones to generate the social register, commendable. Which means citizens are now going to have social security numbers.
Okay.
No matter how poor you are.
Okay. But
you must be identified.
But slightly away from that.
Okay.
Social security number is a good idea. But we already have NIN. We already have BVNs. We have some kind of unique identification that already has the same statute with a social security number. That is one. What then is the essence of all this, especially when government is to apply certain things to its citizens?
They are targets. They are target people.
Okay.
The last administration was able to bequeath on the country and the global community 133 million people, extremely poor, multi-dimensionally poor persons.
Exactly.
This administration, from World Bank data, has added between 4 to 7 million because of
almost 10 million.
No, just going by their standard. Yes, you can be sure it's far more than that.
Yes, of course.
Yes, so we are looking at maybe around 150 million extremely poor persons.
Okay.
Those are the people you first of all have to plan for, and then from data we've seen is that the unbanked Nigerians are maybe
still very many.
Yes, maybe in the region of maybe 40% or more.
No, but people will argue that it's unbanked Nigerians are not a direct function, or poverty or the poor people are not a direct function of the fact that they are unbanked. There are a lot of people who probably will be comfortable. Like there are a lot of farmers who don't have any reason because they use cash, direct cash.
It's an indicator that there's something wrong somewhere. With the way our society is, and with the rate of insecurity, a number of persons won't want to keep money in their houses, no matter even those who are in the rural communities. Yes, but most places, even some urban areas, are rural communities.
True.
How many local government areas, even in a Akwa Ibom state, that you go, you find banks? How many?
Okay.
Very few of them.
Okay. And apart from that, some of the traders prefer to have cash in their hands because of their daily transactions.
Is agreed.
And they feel there's so much bureaucracy with going to the bank and doing
the number of farmers, if you want to really look at it, except maybe up north where people are really doing farming. Okay. What we do here is subsistence farming mostly.
To a reasonable extent.
Yes. The people that are needy are artisans, some daily workers, people who will not be able to eat if they do not go.
They don't work.
If they, to offer whatever form of service that they have.
Okay.
They don't have the money. The day they don't work, they don't eat. So it's so complex. The poverty situation in Nigeria is so complex that we cannot just say, oh, because somebody is not banked, he has money, they are not comfortable with banks, or the bank's proximity of banks to them is not really there. No. If you say that up north, I will agree with you.
Okay.
Yes, that is why, like our President Governor is talking so much about agriculture. Agriculture, yes, is good. But what's the landmass of Akwa Ibom State where you want to talk about massive agriculture? About 7,000 something square meters?
Are you saying Akwa Ibom is a very small state?
Not just saying, the data is there. We are about 31 in the list of size of states in the country.
By landmass?
By landmass.
And arable land, or just the total land?
Our land is super.
Okay.
Our land is super. Our water is super.
Okay.
We need to maximize things. So what we're talking about is that if you talk about somebody in Niger State is bigger than the entire, almost the entire South is put together.
But recall that a lot of the states in the north, a lot of them do not have a significant portion of arable land, and that's why there's some kind of drift or migration down south. They may have a large land mass, but there's a lot of desertification.
That desertification, there's a level of control, and when you look at Plateau, Benue, and all of that, when you talk about north is not as arid as people try to paint it.
The core north.
Yes.
Of course, we know that north central.
Yes.
Benue,
in Borno, there's still serious farming going on there.
Yeah, true.
So we need to be able to know who we are trying to address whenever we address these issues of poverty. And then why some people are not banked. The important thing is that we must be able to build institutions where government themselves will be able to have the data. In a PDP state, it's likely going to be 70 to 80% PDP members.
Supporters.
APC state, same thing.
So are we still not going to face the same danger now that the governors have been included in fashioning out a more, so to speak, credible social register?
That's what we are saying.
Because when governors go back to their state, they start with people who have given them support.
That's why we are doing to engage them. That's why we need institutions. When people will go and fill a form, and an APC person goes, fills a form, and it gets approval. A PDP person goes, fill a form, and is waiting indefinitely without response. You'll be able to raise alarm. Others are collecting, I've not collected. Is it because I'm a PDP member, or is it because I'm an APC member? They will be careful. We must be able to separate politics from governance.
Completely.
Completely. It doesn't matter the party. Parties are even vehicles. They are no ideologies. You know? So, no matter the party that anybody gets into office, once you are in public office, governance begins, and your constituency happens to be the citizens, including even non-indigenous of your local government, of your state or area of jurisdiction.
Okay. Still on the issue of the subsidy palliative, I don't know, should governments not be focusing more on minimum wage, for example? The conversations we've been hearing are, you know, conversations around. We've not heard any significant government official, right from the secretary to federal government down, you know, the ladder, say something concrete about increasing or deliberately planning towards, you know, expanding, you know, the resources that civil servants get in terms of minimum wage increase. Remember that the purchasing power parity has so dwindled that whatever it is they earn now cannot even afford anything.
Well,
should that not be of more focus than the handouts and the conditional cash transfer? A lot of people have argued that.
Well, the argument would never be able to sink until we come to reality with the fact that in as much as people praise whosoever has won election because he's a party member or because they are directly going to benefit no matter what other people suffer, you discover that the major slogan we've been hearing, hit the ground running.
Yeah.
The governor has hit the ground running, the president has hit the ground running. It's not really true. Elections were conducted in February and in March, and swearing was some months after. But what has happened? We just said that, oh, Mr. President has hit the ground running from day one. And on a lighter note, he hit the ground and citizens started trekking. At the state level, there are no core things you will say that this shows that there was preparedness. And there is no greater way to demonstrate the lack of thorough preparedness for governance than the fact that instead of talking about a new wave of good governance, we are now looking at how do we remedy a situation that was caused by what Mr. President himself said in France was a courage that came upon him on the day of inauguration. He said the courage came upon him and he announced the removal of subsidy, which was not planned. So, like you rightly said, the Secretary of the Federal Government, who is the engine room, is supposed to start reeling out the plans of government. But what we are hearing happens just to be hopes, things that don't look really planned. For instance, the wage increase. Before now, there has been glamour for wage increase, and I agree that should be done. But that will never address the issue of the sudden removal of fuel subsidy without prior plan on how to mitigate the disaster which has befallen the people. So what's the way forward now? The way forward is trying to undo some things that have been done. And how do you do that? Mr. President has given a listening ear. The 8,000 naira, which was said to be palliative for the poorest of the poor, everybody, including the poorest of the poor, have said that is not good enough. And Mr. President said, okay, let's hold on to that. Let's look at other things. The issue of agriculture, state of emergency in agricultural sector, that itself was not also worked and prepared before now. So we are now looking at people going to the drawing board. What do we do? It shows that there's a lacuna. It's not just enough that people campaign for offices, particularly those that refuse to attend to debate when we had debate. And then now, instead of bringing relief upon citizens, we are having citizens across party lines lamenting. And something we must also note, you see the voting pattern in the last election, though the margin was very low, the voting margin, about 23 point something million people voted, as low as almost 1993 figure. Out of that, 63 point something percent voted against the current government.
True.
Yes.
So technically it just had slight majority.
Yes. So we have,
it wasn't an overwhelming majority.
Exactly. You have between Labour Party and the PDP, opposition party.
And the NNPP.
Yeah, they had over 14 million votes. Yeah. While the president had about 8 point something million votes. You put that together, 23 point something million votes. So what are we looking at? You're looking at a greater percentage of the population not having voted for the administration. So how do you address such? It's to have brought succor to the greater majority who were already victims of the last administration.
Yeah. Who were expecting.
They said, don't make us miss Buhari.
But still on the minimum wage.
Yes. I was coming to minimum wage now.
Yeah. If you are to advise,
yes,
can you peg a figure?
It's not,
and give why?
Pegging a figure goes beyond the present need. The present need is that the entire population, almost 200 million persons, apart from the less than maybe 3 million or 4 million people who are holding public offices, whose hope is that no matter what, even if they don't buy crude oil, we will take loan for their salaries to be paid, and they are very comfortable. Now, if you have to make provisions for, okay, let's come down to 150 million extremely poor persons. Are you aware that even civil servants have fallen into that class?
Yeah, it's called walking poverty. Yeah.
Retirees in some states.
Even some are working. It's
very well.
Walking poverty.
So if we are increasing the minimum wage for those that are working, how about those that are retired? Will you do harmonization? And what would that take us to? Have we been honest with the economic state of the country, that about 99% of our entire revenue is used for debt servicing? Are we aware of that? So where are you going to get these monies? It still boils down to what is going to happen next: heavy taxation. And we have a president who is pro-tax. Anybody that does not know that does not know Asewaju. Right from Lagos.
Yeah, true.
Yes, he's pro-tax, every area.
Yeah.
In fact,
recently he's just announced capturing the informal sector in the tax net.
Good. Yeah. Market women.
Yes. Informal.
The daughter has declared herself that she's the Aloja of Nigeria because she's the Aloja of Lagos.
Self-acclaimed.
Yeah.
So by virtue of the father being the president,
yes,
she's not the.
It means a whole lot. Do you know how much is gotten from there? We're not even going to that.
Yeah,
so the issue of increasing the minimum wage for those that are working would not solve the problem of this country.
It's a good start. If we are handing out to the poorest of the poor, there should be due consideration for those who are working with the government that have their salaries already battered because of the devaluation and the valuelessness.
I think Mr. President said something about living allowance.
Okay.
Yeah, they have mentioned something like that. But the bottom line is that we cannot just be planning for those who are in government employ. That is why I am advocating strongly now that the NLC should not just be seen as Nigeria Labour Congress, who is speaking for the civil servants, who is speaking for some affiliated bodies. Meanwhile, the larger population, nobody speaks for them. Everybody is a worker. Every citizen is a worker. So, NLC and whosoever from henceforth will emerge as a president of NLC should be rated as being almost as powerful as the president of the land, because he has the capacity to tell citizens, on this matter, we disagree. And we are proceeding on a warning strike for 3 days or 7 days, as the case may be, to send signal. And if government does nothing, we are going on indefinite strike. No government, no governor, no president that is worth his salt will go to sleep hearing such a statement from a credible, powerful, visionary labor leader who is speaking not just for civil servants,
speaking for the entire labor force,
which
organized sector, civil service,
every sector. So it's very important we must come to terms with that. But should minimum wage not be reviewed? It should be reviewed.
So what would you suggest? At least we already know the current situation of things.
Yes.
What do you think would be ideal that you think the government should be able to afford that will at least improve?
I may sound controversial in what I'm going to articulate.
Feel free, it's your opinion.
Yeah, it's my opinion.
Yes, feel free.
Is that we first of all need to run a federation. Yeah. Nigeria must be run as a federating unit where states will determine how much they want to pay their employees.
According to the capacity.
According to their capacity.
State. So the states will be taken as federating units here.
Delta states, River states, Akwa Ibom states, what they get, some 5-7 states don't get what each of these states get. And some of these states, they employ almost the same number of civil servants.
Other less privileged states.
The less privileged states. Some of them they employ as much as the number of these privileged states.
Yeah.
You understand? And then you go back to how Nigeria even gained independence. You know, it was on the basis of running the country as a federation, not a unitary state.
No, but Nigeria has become so complex now. How do I mean? Running Nigeria as a true federalism will mean that the arguments brought forward by late Toronto Douglas about resource control will be brought back. Will that not further complicate issues? That's one. Then two, there are arguments in other quarters that even the states that are earning 13% derivation, that have the NDDC and other parastatals of instrumentations of government, cannot even account for trillions of naira. Rather, their leaders have been plundering these resources. So what impetus do they have to ask for more? How would you react to that?
Very simple. It's a low-hanging fruit. One, those that drum the slogan that, oh, these states are unable to account for either 13% or whatsoever they have been getting, it's not 100% correct. You look at a state like Akwa Ibom State. I tell you sincerely, if Nigeria had developed the way Akwa Ibom State is developing, Nigeria wouldn't have been where it is today. Yeah, in terms of road network, infrastructures, in terms of look at the power plants. We have a power plant in Akwa Ibom State that is running.
Yeah.
We have an airport. We have the hotel industry. It's some of the best you can find anywhere, with a golf course that is almost second to none in the country. Yeah. A lot of things. The seaport is on course, by the grace of God, hoping the new administration will do something about that. These things did not just drop from the sky. Consultancy alone, if you juxtapose that with what somebody did with aviation industry in Nigeria, a minister who was there for 8 years, eventually had no board until the day he wanted to leave. He now set up the board. He
went to borrow an
airplane to come and show, and even the logo design, the design of the logo took almost 600 million or whatever. I mean, it's an indictment on some persons who want to look at the Niger Delta as having not done so well. The degradation alone, and the level of poverty, and the fact that even the taxes that are supposed to be paid for the oil exploration in the Niger Delta, like Akwa Ibom State, we don't earn the tax that we're supposed to earn.
No, I understand all these factors at play.
Yeah.
But just like the name is minimum wage, which means whatever strength you have in your state, no state should go below this. I still want you to put a figure.
No, I have said I'm not comfortable by putting minimum wage for the entire country, because even the 30,000 naira, which is almost like mockery when you even compare with other lesser endowed African countries, some states can't even pay.
Yes.
And they're even owing. Retirees are not paid. So it's not just enough to say, oh, because we want to be responsive, we want to carry the people along, we have increased minimum wage from 30,000 to, like Oshomole just mentioned, that he pays his, I think, cleaner 60,000. That's his minimum wage.
According to his conscience.
Yeah, according to his conscience. But it's a pointer because he was a better labor leader than even a politician by my rating. Yes, so if he says...
A lot of people will argue that, but anyway.
No problem. It's my opinion.
Yeah.
But he's now saying, he's still speaking as a labor leader. Minimum wage for him is 60,000 in his house.
You think that is too small to pay or too big?
No. He has done so well. Do you know that private schools...
I mean for governors now.
For governors, I bet you, I don't know the magic that will be done for governors to be able to pay that. These people can't even pay 30,000. Why? Because of the cost of governance. It's not that the money is not there, but until the issue of cutting cost of governance is addressed, and you cannot address it at the center. Let there be the practice of federalism. Let states determine what they want, including the running of local government system. If you want them to continue to be expensive center and not development centers, because for now, a number of states, there's nothing called local government. It's just settlement grounds for their domestic staff and their boys and all of that. Nothing is required from them and all of that. I've been there at that level of governance, and I had to save my name by using virtually more than what I was ever paid to run the place. So I just go with my sanity. So we need one step at a time. There should be minimum wage increase, but Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a pro-democracy, pro-federalism activist. He should do something about the practice of federalism with states as federating units. Those afraid of the term called resource control, let them change that word. It's devolution of powers and a new revenue sharing formula.
No, but technically it means each federating unit will control whatever resources.
It's not 100% control. It's
not 100. Nobody has even argued. Later, Toronto Douglas didn't argue for 100%.
No, some people don't even believe.
His argument was at least 50. Move it up to 50.
Yes.
At least so that even participating communities that have their resources being exploited will also enjoy
directly
some unique benefits.
That is what the PIA is supposed to have addressed. But up till now, we've not seen.
That's a very robust document. Have you gone through it?
In bits here and there.
Because it's a lot better than what
it's not even been implemented.
It's not.
It's not yet been implemented. So we have a problem of implementation of even goals or even our constitution. If we go by our constitution, a number of things wouldn't even happen. The level of impunity is so high that I pray that this very dispensation, this administration and dispensation would do things differently. Once we are able to address the issue of the structure of governance, we'll begin to get it right. We'll begin to get it right. State will be able to say, okay, we are like Imo State has declared 40,000.
It's not enough to declare.
No. He is the one that said it. He wouldn't even hear that Labour threatened to go on strike. So he must have done that with the room that if Labour says not enough, they can tinker. But it's a good start. Some states will never do it.
So while we're having this conversation, you said something about strategically planning to cut governance. Now, like I always say, I know you have a lot of wealth of knowledge. Assume that you are advising this federal government. Let's start from the federal, then we'll come to the subnational. What kind of design or what kind of structure will you put in place? What do you expect that governors will do away with, first of all?
There have been reports that have gathered dust, and some of them, thank God for the kind of ink that we have in this part of the world, they are imported anyway, they hardly fade. So some documents that have been there for a number of years can be visited, both at federal and the state.
And state level.
At federal, what's the document? President Jonathan in 2011,
Yeah.
Jonathan was a reformer. The only thing he did not have going for him was the personality.
Yeah.
He looked so simple, and people just looked at him and said, he doesn't even know the office is holding.
Yeah. So he hosted the confab.
we had the 2014, before the confab,
yeah.
he had done the
Oransaye report
committee.
Yeah.
That was 2012. That report was submitted. And how many page documents? 800. 800-page document, which did not contain nonsense.
No, but good luck himself.
It contains sense.
Implement.
No. Please, that's what some persons do not have going for them. Why?
Okay.
That document was not just received and dumped. A committee was set up to appraise the document.
And that was done.
2014, a white paper was issued, ready for implementation. 2015, Jonathan was gone.
He lost elections.
And what were the recommendations? Merge about 100 and something MDAs and paracetals.
There are duplicating activities.
Yes.
I think I saw that.
And then some professional bodies should be self-sustaining. I quickly run back to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Okay.
He has made that declaration. Some professional bodies who were relying on, what do you call them now? Subventions.
Are you by any way talking about the NJC? The Judicial Commission?
No, not quite.
Okay.
A number of them, maybe someday we need to look at and see the number. So he has given that directive. You have to be self-sustaining. Now, you look at the ministries. Some ministries overlap.
No, but wait, before you go into the ministries,
yes,
self-sustaining to mean they try to derive their own.
They generate. Yeah, they generate income. Yes,
they don't share from the federation.
Yes,
account.
Yes.
Okay.
Some of these books. Which school is that? I think it's an Arabic whatever stuff that used about 500 million to conduct exam for for their students, and they generated how much? And
so it ran into a deficit. Even at NPC before it became NPC,
yes,
they were running on
exactly.
Deficit, yeah.
So, but the bottom line is that it's a reality that there are some organizations that generate revenue who still get subvention and they abuse, which shouldn't be. And now, when our man came in, our last president, Muhammadu Buhari came in, he did not implement. He wasn't even interested in any of the reports. And the SSG then said so. That like the 2014 Confab report is so voluminous, who has time to go and read it? It will take you about 7 days to read. Nobody has time to read that kind of thing. They just did, was jamboree for the boys. He said so, you can Google it. And I just looked at him and said, this is an
the very first secretary to
the
or this last one?
No, the first one. Yes, our grass cutting man. So,
I remember.
So you discover that when you have people that are not interested in intellectual contributions, you are in trouble.
Yes, serious trouble.
He had 43 ministers. And talking about ministers, constitutionally, every state should have a minister.
Produce a minister.
And it's not just full cabinet minister. You have minister and minister for state.
You have junior minister.
Junior minister. So a state that is given junior minister cannot get full-fledged minister. So 36 states. And then Abuja, 37. But they had 45 ministers. Which means if they were even serious about saying we need to cut cost of governance, just keep it at 37 ministries at most. 8 states, 36 states, and then the Federal Capital Territory.
Yeah, but one of the few extra ministry was the Ministry of Humanitarian and Disaster Management.
Wonderful idea, but it could have fallen into any other ministry.
Okay.
So to carry out activities.
Collapse
exactly
to accommodate that.
So I am believing and thinking and hoping that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has forwarded the list already, should keep the ministerial.
I think 28 is the deadline, so we have few days.
That's
constitutionally.
It's even a minus for him because the impression he gave and his spokespersons gave. He said His Excellency is going to hit the ground running. It will not take 20 days. The ministers of ministers will come out, but that's not to be. But what are we looking at? Cutting the cost of governance. We should not have more than at most 37 to 40 ministries. That would be a departure because Buhari left us with 44 ministries as at 2023. If you reduce by 4 ministers, he will be applauded. Then, like it was also discussed at NEC, issue of convoy of the governors was a subject of discussion.
Hugely dropped. Yes, of course.
Yes.
I listen.
Yes. So, cutting cost of governance, the Arasanya report should be revisited. And that now is even the white paper, because it's a white paper. You can review it, yes.
Yes, you
can. Come to the state level. During COVID, both at national and at state level, the poverty and the lack of medical things, the level of poverty was so clear that both the president, the then Secretary of Federal Government, Boss Mustafa, said he was never aware of how terrible it had gone. It had gone.
In fact, the COVID exposed the deterioration of our health service.
Not just health service, level of poverty.
Yeah, true.
Radio stations, most of their time, people were calling in, asking for help. They were not ashamed.
Serious complaints.
Yes. So, and what did government do? Like in Akwa Ibom State, the immediate past governor, Demi Manuel, set up a very high-powered committee headed by a one-time VC, Professor Akpan Hoganekbo. It was called Post-COVID Economic Reconstruction Committee. And they made amazing recommendation that had to do with cutting cost of governance. That report was received. No implementation. Let me just summarize it. No implementation at the state level. And then the worst of all, apart from cutting costs of governance, is the near zero productivity of public office holders. I tell you sincerely that if public office holders were to be as productive when they are in governance as they are when they are fighting for offices, Nigeria
would have moved a notch up.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They produce results, no matter how difficult the situation is to get into power. But once they are there, it is table manners. You've taken your share, sit down and eat. You don't talk while eating. So, any government at any level that will adopt an austere mentality, austere image, which is not a matter of pretense. We had somebody that used to fly, was ruling a state from Lagos. People that live on the axis where Emmanuel Place say, he has left. He's going to come back in the evening. He's coming back tomorrow. They have the timetable. And what does it take to fly a private jet to be shuttling another state regularly?
When you're supposed to be,
That aircraft, a particular year, consume almost maybe 5 billion or more for maintenance in a year. Aircraft that flies one person. Then the convoy of 15, 20, 30, 40 cars. They are still running it.
And replicated over different states.
Yes. No, some states, like, give it to Shomole. Shomole did not have that kind of convoy.
He didn't have that.
He didn't have it.
Reduced it.
Yeah, he reduced
Although
it.
he was advised against it. And they gave reasons.
It does not matter.
The security services, advised
no, security would do that.
You have a minimum of so number of cars for so reasons.
Understood. Yeah. But I tell you something. Yeah. If you are comfortable with your people, you won't have the fear that you must carry security. You must, apart from the normal security, some of them even carry thugs to go with them. Yes. And the faces are not, are they not known? And who does thuggery? Is it not people that belong to whatever fraternities and all of that? Well, so it's important that there must be productivity from civil service. The public office, political office holders must be productive. They have to cut costs, and that has to be visible. Outside of that, no matter the amount of taxation, because virtually every other state and like the federal government will now want to fall back on taxation. True. And who are you taxing? The same poor people? So
that you've given nothing.
That you've given nothing. So it's time to go to the archives, bring out the Onoseye report at the federal level and the white paper. I think the man that chaired it was IU or something like that. Not the PDP personal. And then at this Akwa Ibom state level, you go to the Akpanekpo's post-COVID reconstruction, economic reconstruction committee report. You bring it out. There are ways to compensate party people.
It's other ways.
Yeah, there are other ways, not by appointment. And until we make public office less attractive, not because of the money.
No, that will go into legislating, and nobody would even say that this crop of National Assembly people will want to ever do any kind of legislation that will be against them.
It's not about them. Governance.
They are the ones who form the law.
No,
they are.
That's where we are. That's where we must correct. That's what we do. What we do. You see, like the name of my organization, Open Forum, Care for Humanity Foundation. Yeah. It is basically for vulnerable persons. Yeah. But are you aware that Nigerians, including even the governors, are vulnerable?
Of course, everybody is.
Yes, everybody is vulnerable.
Like your organization now can only sponsor some kind of motion. But the National Assembly people who are the ones who will now make a law that, okay, for now, these and these and these will be done away with. These and these and these, so that the Constitution will capture
There's a low-hanging fruit to that. It's to place demand. Citizens, you know, these people capitalize on the gullibility of citizens.
Okay.
And the fact that they don't have a voice. And there's a limit. A typical Nigerian situation is where there's an issue thrown out in 7 days, the thing will die down, they throw up some other thing, and you live and pursue that one. But that has not come to be. Like in this case now, nobody will stop talking about the hardship because of the removal of the first subsidy. Nobody will stop talking about it. So the more we keep conversation on the front burner, the more we make demands. They are humans.
The more we put pressure on government, all the tiers of
they will do it, and we've done it in a number of things. Like look at the very obnoxious National Water Resources Bill that was brought forward, which will have annexed some lands and water bodies, and they become federal territories in state. And we rose against it.
Rejected.
No. Okay. We arranged a town hall meeting, which was different. Okay. And by the grace of God, we get it done. So we need to engage our leaders constructively. Let nobody bully you.
True. Citizens Martin, we have very, very few minutes to wrap up. Let's come to Akwa Ibom.
Okay.
I'm sure you followed some of the reports that said under the immediate past administration.
Yeah.
And he didn't end there. He went further to explain that though, as a governor, it's his exclusive prerogative to do so, it was an opportunity for him to show that he supported, he appreciates those who were with him when he was. How do you think? What do you think about that?
Well, I am an analyst and I'm a patriot. So
and you're a political animal too.
Yes, well, we all are.
Political
we
animals.
all are. Those
so
that
you
say
must have some very solid opinion about that
because
position.
I am pro people, and people includes leaders.
True.
When His Excellency, the outgoing Governor, Dom Emmanuel, had the valedictory session with his cabinet, and he did not dissolve that cabinet.
You had the signs.
I had the sign. I said, there is an agreement, and like Ukwa will say, agreement is agreement. You cannot leave after 8 years in office. Final departure. You don't tell your commissioners, thank you for supporting me. The cabinet is dissolved, and wish you the best in future endeavors. And the people will have gone home knowing that which of us will the new governor picked. But because there must have been an understanding, and he did not hide it. No, I've never seen that anywhere. So I had suspected. But Pastor Moino said something along the line. He made a statement. First was that people are glamoring. They didn't want to see old faces. He told people, you are going to see old faces and some new ones. He said that clearly. That you should expect some of the old faces and some new ones. That he's definitely going to reward people that were with him in the trenches. He had never hidden that. But yet still to me, I wasn't comfortable. What would be the ratio? Secondly,
now we have almost everything.
Not just almost not everything. Every member of the cabinet, except those that resigned to contest elections, are the ones missing. It's 100%. And you look at the buck stops on his table. Yes, he hires and fires. But look at something here. A Delta State Governor Sheriff, PDP to PDP, Okowa handed over.
Yeah.
Do you know the number of persons he picked? from the previous administration? I think just about 2. So, you look at Osun State, APC to PDP, completely new, but he made a statement. He said, these commissioners are product of stakeholders. It is stakeholders that recommend people.
Yes.
It's the prerogative of the governor to appoint. So, Omoino has admitted that he is entitled to appoint. Yes, but citizens will not keep quiet that what has just happened has never happened in the history of Akwa Ibom and maybe Nigeria. So, important thing, let me just drop this.
Okay,
yeah.
Please do. We're out of time.
Yeah. A number of some of those commissioners were not productive, but he can make them productive if he so chooses.
If his approach is different.
Yes, if the approach is different, because if you say it's because of performance, it will be very wrong.
All right. Thank you so much. Citizen Matthew, you know there's never enough time for us to have these conversations. And it's always so much fun having you around. All right, that would be all we can take for today's edition. We hope to be here tomorrow with some other engaging, educating, and informing issues at the national level and at the sub-national level. Remember, it is Political Spectrum. We want to say have a very, very great day. We'll see you tomorrow.